We'll start it. Welcome all speakers and welcome all listeners. We're going to host an AMA here with Polychain Monsters and also discuss a little bit what's going on in the market because it has been a crazy 24 hours here. Hope you guys got any questions, and if you have any questions, just request and I will bring you up as we go. When you come up, just raise your hand and I will hand out questions. I think we'll go for about an hour. That's usually how long this goes for. We're also going to have a Nft giveaway, which is a Examon from the Polychain Monsters collection on Solana. And the rules is as follows. Follow Polychain Monsters and follow the pod. Also give this, I pinned the tweet above, which is the tweet to the spaces. Just give that a retweet. And of course, you got to be in the space if you win. So that's about it. I will draw sometime during the space, draw the winner. So with that said, welcome Polychain Monsters. With everything going on, how are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having us. Yeah, it's been an unfortunate series of events going on with Solana, as everybody knows. But this is an important thing to talk about, and we're excited to be here to talk about Polychain Monsters. We recently joined Solana, so happy to be here to introduce the project to some of you who have never heard of us, but also discuss what's going on.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think to start it off, just give everyone a breakdown of you. I know it's a big project. You have been around for some time, but just give us a breakdown, what you guys do.
Sure. Polychain Monsters first introduced its beautifully animated monster collectibles in the spring of 2021 when we launched on the Ethereum blockchain. So we were one of the first, Web3 DeFi NFT projects on the market. If you don't remember what was going on in spring 2021, that's like when Bored Ape launched. We launched a little bit before them, so there was a lot going on with NFTs back then. Part of our mission has been to build a DeFi collectibles and gaming ecosystem with mainstream appeal. So pretty early on, we saw that Ethereum wasn't going to be a blockchain that was going to let us reach that mission because the gas fees were very high, and these collectibles, people in our community who were building these collections soon found I can't even do anything with my NFTs because every time I want to move or stake or do something with them, the fee is insane. And so Polychain Monsters became one of the first multi-chain projects. And when we launched on the Binance Smart Chain, that was the second blockchain we launched on. And today we have what's the biggest or maybe the second largest NFT collection on Binance. And so what the Binance launch really did for us, it gave access to a lot of people who had been seeing our project on Ethereum, maybe couldn't get in because of the fees. When we eliminated that barrier, we saw a wave of new community members joining the Polychain Monsters community, becoming active on the Binance Smart Chain. Now, since then, we launched on Polygon as well, and recently we've seen a lot of good things happening with Solana, and we decided to join Solana. When we did join Solana, we did it a little bit differently than our playbook on all the other blockchains. So our core system, we have an unlimited NFT collection. People use our PMON token, and they open this thing called a booster pack that has 3 randomly generated Polymon inside. We use Chainlink for verified random number generation, and that's what determines which monsters you get, which attributes you get. So we had to build, this system, and really we were actually one of the first large user of Chainlink's verified random numbers. And so when we saw what's going on in Solana, I saw very quickly there's something different with Solana and these other blockchains that are low cost. Specifically, when you look at what's going on with Binance or Polygon, you don't see as much community activity there. It's kind of like you see the blockchain activity, but something's not adding up. You don't have those strong NFT communities. So when we launched on Solana, we didn't launch our whole unlimited collection system. We launched a limited edition collection called Exomon. And Exomon is our last big release leading up to our upcoming game, Polychain Islands. So it's a game where you're going to be able to use all of our NFTs, whether it's on Solana, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum. You can use all of our NFTs from all of these chains in the Polychain Islands game. And so the Exomon collection, because it was limited edition, you had to be whitelisted to get them. And we made these a very good entry point into our community for people on Solana. So it has high collector staking value and is going to be pretty powerful in the upcoming game, which we just recently started testing. So um, with everything going on with Solana today, obviously any project on Solana is thinking about these uncertainties. Like if something this big has just happened with thousands of not just regular wallet skin comments, these are NFT community members. These are the people in the spaces. These are the people in our communities, and these are active, community members in a certain sense. Maybe so that's kind of something to talk about. But today, I'm glad to tell you guys more about our project, talk about Solana, our Exomon collection, and I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to take your questions now.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a big spaces yesterday with just trying to keep track of everything that was happening. But it was crazy trying to move our NFTs to our ledgers and just get this under control. Yeah, let's get into that later. Just to how big is the because you had I guess what three collections, right? How big is the total supply?
So our unlimited collection, that it has surpassed over 7 million monsters. And so we have introduced a deflationary mechanism where you can reverse swap those monsters. 15 of your monsters, you can exchange them for a new booster pack. And so I believe over close to 2 million monsters have been burned in that way. So the unlimited collection, like every day, even during this conversation, there's probably somebody opening a booster pack. So typically the monster you get in that collection is a very common monster worth maybe like 50 collector staking points. And then occasionally, if chain link random numbers are on your side, you'll get a rare monster worth like 10,000 or 20,000 points. The most rare monster that's ever been pulled uh, is worth close to 12 million points. And so that monster, it was so rare that statistically nobody thought one would ever get pulled because it's just so unlikely that it's going to happen. So that's a dynamic of an unlimited edition collection, and it's good for certain reasons and has its drawbacks for certain reasons depending on who you're talking to. With the Solana collection, it was totally different what we did. So instead of making it where anybody can open as many packs as they want, we did a 10,000 limited edition collection, and we distributed lots to our top collectors from these other blockchains. People who were maybe they weren't a top collector, they were just active in the community. We distributed that slots to them, and then we also picked random people in our community who might have had smaller collections and whitelisted them as well. And then we also reached out to a bunch of Solana communities, all ones that you guys are probably familiar with, and did the whole Discord collaboration where we invited them to our Discord, gave away whitelist spots. So these Exomon, because there's only 10,000 of them, very limited compared to a 7 million monster collection. Each Exomon is worth thousands of collector staking points. And so that's very different from the average Polymon that's worth 50 points. These points determine how much you earn in DeFi rewards, but also determine how powerful monster is going to be in the game. So um, that's basically what those two collections we have going on right now, the Polymon and the Exomon.
All right, awesome. And from what I understand, you have a pretty big team as well, right? Do you want to get into the team and how you guys got into Web3 and especially making this collection?
Yeah, so before I get into the team, one thing I forgot to mention was as far as our community goes, we have around 60,000 unique wallets that hold our Polymon NFTs. And so those wallets, they're not all unique people. Some of them, people have multiple collections, but 60,000 unique wallets holding the NFTs, and there's 40,000 or so people wallets holding our PMON token on Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Polygon. PMON token's not on Solana yet, but so that's our community size. It's a pretty big community, and the team is big too. But the team started small. It started with a few co-founders, three of them based out of Germany, Leif, Leonard, and Finn. And so these three guys, I've met them in person myself, but they launched the project kind of like on their own in the early days. So they built V1 of our product, all the smart contracts, the web app. They did everything. So it started pretty small. It was just three guys, and they're all developers and designers. And I think like the three or four people they brought on afterwards were all on the dev side as well. So today we have a team of close to 20 full-time people, and really most of the business side hires were done in the last 6 months to so 6 months or so. So it's a very development heavy team, and you can kind of see that in the quality of everything we do with our website, the staking features, the NFTs themselves, and the game we're building as well is very impressive for my standards based off what I've seen from other, blockchain based games. So The team is mostly developers based out of Germany. We have 3 people in the United States, myself, our partnership manager, and our marketing director, um, who's based out of California. I'm based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the other Americans from Florida. So mostly Germany, but we got some good representation from the United States as of late.
Oh, all right. So both a big community and a big team to manage. Um, awesome. What is this? What is this? It says in your bio, Rainbow Festival. This is very off track. I was just curious.
So the Rainbow Festival reference is a reference to this new feature we have coming out on Ethereum, Polygon, Binance for our unlimited edition collection. It's a deflationary feature. It's actually quite complex on the smart contract side of things, but essentially what our community members can do is they can fuse 5 or 6 of our monsters of different colors. So we have 6 different colors. You can fuse 5 or 6 of them together to create one new monster, and all the other ones get burned. And so it's a deflationary feature. It's got a lot of DeFi components. So the way it works is you have to use this rainbow portal. And every time the rainbow portal is used, it costs PMON. And so those PMON rewards go out to the rainbow portal owners, go out to the collectors. And so it's a pretty big deflationary feature. And it is going to be producing rewards for all of our NFT holders, regardless of which chain you are on. You do get a share of the rewards that the project generates. So yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with our Exomon collection or anything to do with Solana. It was something that we had started before, and it's for the unlimited edition collection specifically.
Awesome. Just for everyone new joining us, I hope you're here for the information. But if you're also here for the giveaway, I pinned a tweet to the top. Just give that a retweet, follow Polychain Monsters, and follow us, and we'll draw a winner sometime during this space. Now I want to dive deeper into, because I guess of course it is the main thing of the entire project is the game, right? I've seen some sneak peeks on the website, so I want to dive deeper into this. How I know you talked about it a little bit, but when can the community expect the I guess full game to be able to play it?
So the way that we're taking the game to market is just as important as the game itself, and the way that I kind of look at this is imagine a very simple card game. It could be the most simple, somewhat boring game, repetitive, but it could take over and do very well, and it could perform well with people and households across countries, even not just one place. And so games, the way that they're introduced are just as important as the game itself. And the way you introduce features, the stages that you introduce features, that product development cycle are all very important. So to answer your question, the first community members that are going to be playing the game are going to be playing it within weeks. And when I say the first community members, these are alpha testers that have pretty much like earned their spot and earned their right to play this game before anybody else. And so with the alpha version of the game, the people know, and we've been telling everybody that it's a purely focused on battles. So of course, we have these monsters. Obviously there's going to be battles. So basically our community can go in, battle each other. And so that experience first is going to be rolled out on an alpha group and an alpha level. And we're also going to be getting key stakeholders involved. And before we release that then to the wider community and then the general public, there's a couple tests that this game is going to have to pass. So one, does it work? And two, is it fun? And so until through that alpha phase that where we confirm like, hey, this is fun and it's working, then we'll start introducing it to the general community. And so I think that process will probably take, you know, before our entire community gets to use and play the game, might be at least a month. But the first ones are going to be starting here within weeks, and then about a month after that, I would assume the rest of the community is going to be invited to start testing and giving us feedback before we announce the game publicly and invite the general public to come and get in on the action. And I can talk a lot about different aspects of so that's a quick summary, but how do you actually do that? Well, we have a plan. We have ideas on how to do it. And why are we doing it? Well, if you look at the play and earn games that have launched so far, the ones that have had, any kind of runaway success, you'll notice that they hit some challenges in the sustainability of their, system they're building, their in-game economies. So the way that we're rolling this out, first to the alpha, testing the battles, making sure we get the battle system right. And from there, on our site, you might have seen other features reference, like land and being able to explore and harvest resources from the land. That is not going to be until like V3 of the game, where you can actually have that fully immersive experience in the entire, in-game economy. The first version will be battles for the community. Second version is going to be battles for the general public with on-chain, all the on-chain features, built in. So with this next phase, a first testing phase, alpha, it's going to be, there will be a reward system, but it's not going to be the official reward system that gets introduced publicly.
All right, awesome. Was the idea when this collection first, because it has been around for some time, was the idea to make a game, or is that something that grew like out of the collection? I guess the initial idea with the project.
Yeah, that's a good question. And earlier you said, I guess the game is the main part. And myself, actually, I started as an investor and collector. I was in the community for 9 or 10 months before I applied for a job and got the position. So I've been full time with the company for about 5. And so from my perspective, I personally think that the collection itself and the ecosystem we're building is the main product, and the game is a big piece of that. So the collection is kind of like what I put at number one, just me personally. Now, there's obviously going to be some people that are more interested in the game. So somebody, the general public, somebody who just hears about the project, for them, it's very understandable why the game might be like the thing that they think's the big one. And to be honest, the game is big because that's where the real mainstream appeal potential comes from. You start, becoming more interesting to more people, both in crypto and outside of crypto, when it comes to having a game. But when the collection originally launched, the game was not actually in the plan. So the collection, it was, it's pretty obvious where the inspiration comes from, but monsters are kind of popular, and Pokemon Pocket Monsters was a big part of everybody's childhood. And so I think the concept originally was just like, hey, you know NFTs make a lot of sense for collectibles. And you know what if we had, what if it was reinvented? What if these monsters, these collectibles, were on the blockchain? What would it look like? What would it be like? And so I think the collection itself actually was just purely inspired by the idea of having NFT collectibles like ours on the blockchain. And then that's, so at that time it was pretty new. Like there wasn't a lot, people didn't have expectations of NFTs and NFT projects back then. It was just more so like, oh, there's CryptoPunks, oh, there's this new thing, Bored Apes, and oh wow, there's like crazy flip opportunities. But in all of that noise, and that's still around now, it's especially on Solana. In all that noise, you're going to find builders and people that have a vision and they're doing something for the long run. And so this team, although the game was not in the day one inspiration, to me, it's kind of obvious that it might have gone in that direction if there was success. Like if you have if you have a monster collectibles ecosystem that's successful, obviously a game would be next. And so even if you look into, other, Web 2 or just like traditional industries with collectibles and how they evolve, I think it followed a relatively similar path in the sense that some people get in for the collectibles and then get introduced to the game, while the only reason they would even pay attention is because of the game. So for us, the game was an evolution. It was a step in the ultimate vision of, building, something with mainstream appeal. And I think as the team saw, it was gaining traction and it was actually gaining collectors and users in an active community. It was a no-brainer to keep going with it.
Yeah, I think that that's a very like healthy way to look at it, as a more than an ecosystem, a collectible, and a rather than just a game. TK, feel free.
So you guys have launched 2 previous collections, correct?
So we have a total of 2 collections. One is our unlimited edition collection on Ethereum, Binance, and Polygon, and then one is our Exomon collection. It's a limited edition collection on Solana.
Okay, so how much did you guys raise from both of those mints?
So this team, so when it first launched, I wasn't part of the team. So the reason why I say first launch is because that's when like the fundraising event was. So back then, especially with like Ethereum-based projects, the primary way to raise was with the token. And so they introduced the PMON token, and the PMON token did have utility in the sense that you could create our NFTs with it. But the way I understand it is that the token, introduction of the PMON token, that was like the fundraising event. They had an IDO. There were people that were able to, get the token before launch. and then it launched publicly for people, and then the general public could then get the token on various exchanges. So that was the fundraising effort, and I believe the initial fundraise might have been close to, I mean, I have to find like the blog post, but I think at that time it might have been close to 1 million or something like that. But it's hard to, as a user, as like a community manager, it's hard for me to even think about the number, because what happened immediately after the token was introduced was it had a massive pump. And so I assume that at that point, the team was generating more, you know, um, than that initial IDO, the initial fundraise. Once the token starts performing well, is an upside potential there for funding the team. So the way the token is set up is it's a deflationary token that started with 11 million total supply, and every time a booster pack is opened, 40% of that token gets burned. And so we burn the tokens that are used to create the NFT, and then the remainder of the token gets distributed as rewards. So initially, I think right now there's 38 or 3.8 million circulating tokens, and so the remainder of the tokens the team gets to use for things like building the team and funding the project moving forward. So I think a lot of the funding comes from that and not the NFT itself. Now, of course, the NFT on the other blockchains does drive demand for the token, and that's partially why there was like so much hype when it launched, was people were trying to mint these NFTs and buying the token as well. So I think that's where the funding comes from. And as far as like our Solana Exomon collection, it was a one sol mint back when Solana was like 38 bucks or 36 bucks on that particular day. Of those proceeds, of course, there was like a tax that had to be paid, and then Magic Eden launchpad fee, and then 25% of the remaining proceeds were distributed as rewards through our collector ecosystem, and the remainder is just used to develop the project further. So really, it wasn't a fundraise unless like, if we're talking a hundred and something $1,000 with a team our size, like that doesn't get you very far. It's not even 1 month of runway. So the NFT collection we did on Solana wasn't a fundraise, but to kind of get to the root of your answer, the fundraise did happen on Ethereum through the token.
So you raised roughly 1 million to 1.5 million so far. How much is this new mint, or how much are you trying to get
So with the
out of the
mint
new collection?
with the new collection that we did on Solana, it's already minted. You can go check it out. Magic Eden, just search Exomon. Um, that the only reason why we even charged for that is for a couple of reasons. One, we have like an NFT ecosystem built where if like we give out NFTs for free, it devalues like all the other NFTs. And so there's a balance here. We couldn't just make it free or else it devalues everything else. But also we don't want to charge too much because that wasn't a fundraising event. So with the Exomon collection on Solana, that absolutely, in my opinion, wasn't a fundraise if you look at like the math. Um, so, so yeah, does that answer your question? It might have been like, I think when it's all said and done, it was like maybe it was, like we could just do the math, 38 times 10,000 times, yeah,
380,000, something like that.
exactly. And then after that, we had PMON rewards. So you could do about 75% of that then. So it's looking like 280, it might have been close to 300,000 of proceeds towards the project. Um, So those funds specifically are just being used to fund the project, like pay the team and keep developing the game and integrate the Exomon collection into the ecosystem. So far we've already been sticking to that plan. Exomon, you can stake them on our website, just like any of our other collectibles. You earn rewards. They're already being integrated into the game. So it really wasn't a fundraise necessarily. It was more of like, I view the Exomon collection was like our launch on Solana. It was more so like, hey, Solana could be big, and we need to be there. So that was kind of like more so, in my opinion, of a strategic launch on Solana more than a fundraise.
Oh, I fully agreed. To get into Solana is really smart. Well, you guys getting into every blockchain is super smart, because if one of them takes off more, gets more traction, you're out there for all the users. You're on 3 blockchains so far, correct?
So now we're on four. So we're on Polygon, BNB, Ethereum, and Solana. And I agree with your point. And my bigger thing is, what if there's a particular blockchain that takes off and becomes number one for NFTs, and you're not there? So you might have been early to NFTs or early to Ethereum or early on in every objective measure, but what if Solana does become number one for NFTs? In that case, if you're not there and you're a project, eventually like you're going to have to be there. Same way people, projects Web 2 or Web 3 have to be on social media. At a certain point, you don't really have a choice anymore. And so I think Solana definitely has that potential because you don't see Solana's community, the level of real quality. Like if you go in these projects, you go in these discords, go look on Twitter, you see these communities, you see them interacting with each other, like real people. But then you go to BNB Chain or Polygon, and it's not like that at all. There's no ecosystem. There's no NFT ecosystem, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this stuff, but I don't necessarily have the best opinion of some of these other low-cost blockchains. I look at BNB Chain as kind of like a Chinese play. Polygon is popular in India, but when you see Solana, the people behind it, and a lot of the community members much more heavy on the American side. And I see a lot of Americans, Canadians, Australians. There's a lot of European people on Ethereum, but for some reason, when I looked into Solana and I started checking it out, you notice the quality difference of the community. Like there's real communities, but you also notice that as far as low cost blockchains go, the community looks different than it does on BNB Chain and Polygon.
Oh, I fully agree with that. That's what took me from ETH to Solana. I've done some stuff on Polygon. To branch off that, are you guys looking to expand into any other blockchains? Hedera, Cardano? I mean, probably not
So
Cardano, that's a joke.
the answer to that is yes. And the way it's going to happen, we're not going to do it with Gen 1. So our main Polymon collection, we're going to retire that soon. And in our next collection, we do Gen 2 of our Polymon collection. That will be set up in a way where it can be on a lot more blockchains. So right now, from a technical perspective, if we want to launch our Polymon, our core unlimited collection on any blockchain, we have to basically do the work again. And at this point, we're investing more in just making sure we set the tech up in a better way so we can be on more blockchains for Gen 2. So I think you can expect Polychain Monsters to be on more EVM blockchains, supported blockchains, so the ones that use Ethereum virtual machine. Solana, on the other hand, obviously doesn't use that. And so it's very important what happens with Solana in the coming, 6 months to a year, in my opinion, to determine how much do projects actually build on Solana because it's using a totally different system. And I hope that Solana does become the go-to for NFTs. Personally, I'm slowly becoming a Solana maxi, but when you see these things that are happening right now with wallets being compromised and stuff like that, it does make you wonder, can Solana, the team behind it, the community, can we get our shit together for the next bull run? Because sure, this stuff can happen now, and you know it's going to be a little bit different though if it's happening at a larger scale. Like Ethereum, you can see what happened is once more people are exposed, you have more people in the system, the expectations are even higher then. So um, I do think the coming months are important for Solana because it's easy to launch on other blockchains, especially ones that are integrated with Ethereum. It's hard to do that same exact thing on Solana.
I fully agree with that. Well said, man.
Thank you.
We do have some big hacks, as you said, some big hacks and some crazy stuff happening. But the community, I fully agree, it's something else. Did you want to say something?
No, that was really well said. I just wanted to,
I have
go off
something
that.
on that. So is your Discord, is it chain specific or is your Discord everybody together? To start my question.
So when we first launched on Solana, we split the Discord because we wanted people who are learning about us for the first time to follow the path of, okay, I just learned about Exomon, this being launched by Polychain Monsters, and then they get deeper into our ecosystem. Because what I've found, at least, is if you just introduce somebody to the project, like, hey, here's the whole thing, it can be a little overwhelming. It's very detailed, it's very big, and it's much more detailed and big than the typical NFT project. Typical being one that does one or a few collections with 10K or less items in each one. So when we launched on Solana, to answer your question, we split it, and then literally as of right now, well, as of last week, we're in the process of merging them back and making it one unified experience. So then everybody will have access to all the channels. But right now, if, for example, joined our community through Ethereum, BNB, or Polygon, you do have access to some channels that some people from Solana don't have access to, just because it was mainly just features unrelated to them that were being discussed there. But probably by the end of the week, we'll have one unified Discord where everybody has access to everything.
That's interesting. That's good timing for my question. So which community do you feel is more active and I guess a little stronger of all your four that you're in so far?
So what's interesting is like we have our community, and like our community uses multiple blockchains because of this our project. So like I never even started using Polygon until Polychain Monsters launched on Polygon. I never had a BNB NFT on BNB chain until Polychain Monsters launched on BNB chain. And for myself and many of our, well, actually I bought some Solana NFTs prior, but for many of our community members, the Exomon was their first introduction to the Solana blockchain. So we have our own community that is active on with our project on the blockchains that we join. And so that's just to give you a little bit of an idea of how our community is. And so the answer your as well is, as far as the general Ethereum, BNB, Polygon communities, obviously I think Solana has like the strongest community on like the just like authentic content, user generated, like passionate about Web3, like NFTs, yeah, sure. Like everybody on Solana likes to make money or flip and all that stuff, but you can tell that there's like a real passion just beyond the money, even though we all like to joke about how much, petty people are with undercutting and all that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, like Ethereum is, in my mind, like it has strong projects and communities, and it has similar to what we have. There's these projects where the community members in those projects are going to continue using Ethereum if that project's on Ethereum. So I don't necessarily think that is the case with BNB Chain or Polygon. I think there aren't as many of those like really runaway hit projects on those chains where it's like, man, that project is going to guarantee usage of that blockchain and for generations to come. I think Ethereum has those projects. I think Solana as a blockchain has that community already. And yeah, so I think I don't know. Does that answer your question? Ethereum, but otherwise Solana.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I feel the same way because I do a lot of stuff in each chain and it's just it feels it's a good word to use there. I don't know, it feels more real in Solana. It feels like there's more people that are actually there to learn and experience the whole thing. I don't know, it's just a different vibe.
Absolutely, especially if you just compare it to Ethereum. Forget those other chains. If you compare Solana to Ethereum, the magic that you're trying to describe is what happens when you remove the financial barrier to entry. Like I'm well off for most of the world's standards, but I feel too poor to use Ethereum, and so I never got active Ethereum community. Meanwhile, I'm over here joining random servers and following these projects and buying their NFTs and participating and staking on Solana because that barrier to entry is removed. So when you allow anyone to participate, no matter how much money they have, that's where you get that random kid who is an artistic genius or that that builder that just can build. He from a rich background or anything like that. He didn't have money. He just started coding, and he could do that with Solana and build a community on Solana. You can't do that with Ethereum. You can't. It doesn't happen. So we already see what happens when you create a melting pot. It's called the United States. It has a lot of problems, obviously, but in terms of like brain power, businesses, Web 2, Web 3 projects, America's always been a force to be reckoned with because you have the brightest people from all over the world. We allow them to come here. And if you look at a lot of European countries, you look at Middle Eastern countries, Asian countries, African countries, South American countries, you're not going to find any country that is welcoming all of them to the extent that we are. And so obviously it could be better, but what happens then is you have that melting pot. You have the talent, you have the community to build something magical. And so that's what I think is going on with Ethereum right now is they have this barrier to entry, and they're basically saying, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how creative you are, how good your art is, I don't care how good you can, build smart contracts or anything like that. If you're not willing and able to pay this amount per transaction, you're not going to do anything on our blockchain. And so I think that's a huge problem, and that's what Solana doesn't do, and that's why things seem so much more real on Solana, because you could have somebody who is a Harvard graduate in the same Twitter Spaces as somebody who builds and flips homes for a living. And with Ethereum, I don't really see that kind of diversity in terms of the people at the top mixing with people at the bottom who they normally wouldn't, but they are because they're both passionate about something that's unified them. I don't see that on Ethereum.
Well, you're just up here spitting facts, man. I absolutely love it. I love it. Well said again.
Awesome. Yes, love it. For everyone listening, again, I'm going to draw the winners very soon here for the NFT. So if you haven't already, just retweet the pinned post and give the pod and Polychain Monsters a follow. Hype, did you have a question? You took down your hand. Did you get it answered?
It was just getting a bit sore, to be honest, so I had to take it down. It's just a quick question, man. Yeah, you're a very impressive speaker. Congratulations on that. Obviously, very well prepared. I was a little bit late, so if you've already answered this question, I apologize. But yeah, I just seen that I had a quick look over your Twitter, and you do have a huge following. I was just interested how you guys managed to achieve that.
Yeah, good question, especially because you see a lot of these big following projects on Solana. There was like that meta where every project had to have like a ton of followers in order to like, get any kind of praise or anything like that. So before we started launching on Solana, at that point we probably had like 110, close to 100,000 followers that we had built up in the year prior to the launching on Solana. So it wasn't like, oh, we introduced our collection on Solana. Let's put the so our Twitter account. If you scroll back, it's been there for over a year. You could go through our earlier tweets and go through our more recent tweets, and it's that's all there. So what happened then after we joined is on Solana, there's obviously a lot of influencers and content creators that do giveaways, and so I'm about to give you an idea of how it works. I'm not necessarily the person on our team that manages all this stuff. I'm just kind of giving you some insights. Is I'm like, because that was one thing. I'm like, hey, you guys better not be buying any followers. And these projects say, oh, we don't buy followers. Well, what happens is they work with these influencers. They do giveaways, retweet giveaways, retweet, follow, and they get a lot of new followers. So I think since launching on Solana, the account has gone up by about 50% in followers, and pretty much that's 100% from, I would say, from pure promotion of the stuff that we were doing on Solana. So it's kind of interesting to me is because there was the meta where high followers was a thing, and then immediately afterwards people saw the problem with that is you can just fake that, and then it's kind of misleading people. And what a lot of people don't realize is, yeah, that's like from the whole retweet for whitelist, the whitelisting system is a big reason for that on Solana, in my opinion. On other blockchains, like we've never done this whole whitelisting thing before, and I think that's what we see on Solana with projects now. It still doesn't add up though, right? Because like we were doing a ton of giveaways with content creators, like, hey, retweet, follow Polychain Monsters for a chance to win a whitelist spot. So like we did that, and if we gained 50,000 followers by doing that, there's other projects where they were brand new projects, literally brand new. First thing they ever did was minting a collection, for example, on Magic Eden. And I've seen those accounts that have 150,000 followers, and the math doesn't add up for me because it took us over a year to get 100,000 followers. We start doing the whitelist, retweet, promote meta. We gain 50. So I think that's something that we need to get rid of in terms of culturally. Is like it was, in my opinion, just like a bad thing for the community to encourage and reward, or like, oh, they have like so many followers. I wish that never would have happened, to be honest. I feel like sometimes when influencers promote and retweet, and it's not, it's feeding into that system. So the influencers for promoting these projects are creating this dynamic that ended up being accounts with tons of followers and follower growth. And then it's like, oh, these companies are misleading people. Well, your favorite influencer is the source of a lot of those new followers. So, yeah, that's how we went from 110, I'd say, what are we now, like 160, something like that.
Yeah, man, thank you very much.
No problem. And I like the focus of the pod, to bring transparency to the space. Like, I don't think there's enough transparency. Like, my original Web 2 background, I was in the food industry. I created one of the most, the largest food blogger influencer networks in the United States. And it became, it was the same cycle we see with NFTs. First, it's like, oh, it's taboo to work with a project because, oh, it looks like you're just promoting them because you're making money. So what do these influencers do? They don't disclose, and then like very clearly. So they don't disclose, and then what happens is like, oh, the influencer is shilling a project. They're not disclosing. They're getting paid under the table. Okay, well then when the influencer does disclose, we discourage that by calling them out. Like, I don't know if you guys keep up with the whole King Fud Twitter account situation where there's been some backlash for him taking a paid position, but at least he disclosed that. So I think Solana, that's one thing we all have to do a better job of, is bringing transparency to the space. And it's not just like the project, it's everybody, it's all of us. So that's why I personally started listening to your guys' AMA. I'd usually join with my personal account. My name's Omid, by the way. My personal account is Unipak Shakur, if anybody wants to check it out. But yeah, I love it.
Thank you. That means a lot. Like, we're trying our best to let people speak up, and also to encourage people to speak up, because we have all these things, like, for example, doxing. I'm very for doxing, but that's like a stamp for for trust today, and we want to bring a change to that, kind of like letting people speak up and create this real sense of trust, just trusting the founders and the team behind products.
Well, that's an interesting comment, because one of my saddest moments on Solana was the whole Degentown mint. I didn't participate in that. I didn't buy anything on second trading. I was so disappointed.
Oh, you cut up there for a second, but after you said the Degentown.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, the reason why I was so disappointed by that is because that was a Magic Eden Launchpad project, and we were a Magic Eden Launchpad project. Supposedly, the Launchpads have to go through a doxing process, and there's a rigorous thing you have to go through. And Magic Eden, for us, I don't know if I'm allowed to say so. I'm going to say it anyways. They were not that easy to work with, in the sense that they wanted us to prove out certain things, secure certain types of partnerships with other projects before they would be willing to publicly acknowledge us. And what we see is somehow all those standards disappeared with the Gentown Mint, and I don't know. I think it's safe to say a lot of people got screwed over with that when you look at the pump and dump that happened. And so that was when I started questioning doxing, even what is it? At what point is a team really doxed? I believe we are, but I don't believe that the Gentown team was ever fully doxed. So I agree with the dox, but we can't just assume, oh, like Magic Eden says these guys are doxed. They are.
We definitely need to set a standard for doxing, because I've heard there's multiple quote unquote doxing services out there. Some's just a FaceTime and a ID, but they don't take your address, your social. There's so many quote unquote things that dox people these days. I don't think there's a solid set in stone term, at least here in Solana, that I've noticed. It's quite frustrating. I agree with you.
Yeah, for sure. About what's your opinion on what happened yesterday? I know you talked a little bit about it, but did it affect your project as well?
Well, the first thought that crossed my mind was, wow, this makes us look bad because potentially makes us look bad because we got our community onto Solana. So we tell people, join us on Solana. At a very minimum, I feel a little bit of responsibility to anything that happens to those people from that day forward on Solana, because if we didn't say, hey, come get on Solana, they wouldn't have done it. So the first thought that was in my mind when I heard all what's going on with Solana, I was like, man, this is not good. The second thing that goes through my mind is this is not good, because I know the developers on our team, those people, when I listen to their conversations about building on Solana versus Ethereum, and they get into the code and how on Ethereum, on Solana, they're called programs, they're not called smart contracts. When they start analyzing the details and they see these vulnerabilities and these instances happening, that influences the builder on whether or not they think it's safe to build on Solana, whether it's the effort. Like, okay, I want to build on Solana, but look at what just happened. What if that keeps happening? What if this is the end? So my first thought was like for our community. My second thought was like, I wonder what this is going to do to hurt the perception with builders, project, like actual programmers building on-chain experiences. And the third one is, I want to know how the Solana community is going to react, because the Solana community is strong enough to get through this, but will they? How will they? What's going to happen next? That's what is left to see. And my guess is this is just going to be another blimp in the road. The Solana community is not just going to go away because this happened. But at the same time, it hurts me because I know that projects and people are thinking about joining Solana, and these things are things they think about. So it really sucks that it happened. But I guess I still have hope for the future.
Yeah, I from everything I've seen on Twitter from the Solana community, it's just been encouragement and helping people set up ledgers, showing them where to go. Because I mean, the sad thing in crypto is you're probably going to get drained at least once. I know it's happened to me, and it hit hard. It was an ETH, and when it was around 4K. So that's why we always preach disconnect your wallets daily. Don't ever be in a rush. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, and you'll lose it all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's usually the situation, is there's like some too good to be situation, and somebody wants to interact with, their wallet with this website because they're so excited and they feel so safe. It feels familiar to them. That's usually the issue. If I understand correctly, that wasn't the case here in the current situation. Um, as far as I understand the scenario, is there
Correct.
was a organization Slope that somehow was sharing private keys
That's
for the
what I've
past
been
week.
hearing today. Is it was people that I don't know the full truth behind it, but if they had the same seed phrase for their slope as they did for their phantom, at slope has slowly been distributing those out, not knowing it. Um, Sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
this is different than most. This was a well thought out planned attack, but it still
Yeah.
sucks for the whole ecosystem. But I I truly think it's going to bring everybody together. I've only seen people rallying behind, saying, you know what, it's a bump in the road. Let's keep it moving, baby.
To be honest, like to play on that, like I know one of the things I've been hearing is a little bit of good news is that the fact that it wasn't like Solana's like fault, meaning like
It's not the
whatever was going
blockchain.
on was
It
correct. It's
wasn't a
not the
Solana
blockchain
attack.
itself.
Correct.
So that's at least a little good news with that. But still a lot of people affected. We had some people yesterday that came up and told us, but we just learned from it, and you know what? It brought attention to the ledger. It brought attention to safety, and it'll help us grow to the next level. Now everyone's going to pay attention more, and hopefully less Discord hacks, etc.
Yeah, and I think projects have a responsibility here, because the risk that these specifically projects on Solana are encountering more and are exposing their community members to more is collaborations. So when this Solana thing happened, my first thought was like, does Phantom have anything to do with this? Because I literally had somebody put together a guide on how our community can get set up on Phantom. So if this is a Phantom issue, then that's really bad, because as a project, we pretty much recommended that our community use that for the mint. And so I think projects on Solana, I hope from this experience, they become a little bit more selective in their criteria with what other projects do they collab with and integrate with. I'm just glad Polychain Monsters, we never mentioned, Slope, or, we never told people to go use that. So it's like, I think projects like that's what scares me about Solana is I see so many collaborations and human error can happen anywhere. All it takes is one for one mod in one project to approve a collaboration that shouldn't have been, and all of those community members now are at risk because they're encouraged to interact with that scam. So I guess in that sense, this was the typical scam as people trusted Slope to be operating and controlling their data properly.
Complacency kills. Truly does.
Yes, yes. And
And
there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in regards both as a user, because digital stuff looks more like just fake money, right? It's easier just to play around and think you're safe and it's all click and done. But these things change lives and you have to take them seriously. You have to educate yourself and the community. So it's really important so people do not get the idea that they are users in a playground, like they're in Disneyland. No, dude, you're not in Disneyland. This is the streets, right? Everybody's gonna try to comfort your money, so you have to be careful. That's as a user. And then as the providers of a service, because at the end of the day, Phantom and these other wallets are just that, providers, right, of a service. They can do so much still for people. Like, imagine if inside your own account, because you can right now create multiple wallets, but if you could define the use for said wallets, right? Just say, hey, I'm gonna create a wallet that is gonna be my cold wallet. So this wallet that I tag that way cannot ever be connected to any place, right? You are not gonna share those seed phrases with anybody. It's not gonna be connected, and it's right there, right? Right now you can label them. The name doesn't change anything, but if they go that extra step to allow you to select, this is a hot wallet, this is a risky wallet, this is a cold wallet, and then on the coding they do some stuff so your cold wallet never connects directly to any place. So your hot wallet never has more than 5 Solana or 10 Solana, that your NFT wallet maybe it's only able to connect but not make big transactions. Those kind of stuff already integrated into the wallet providers, that would go a long way because it limits the damage a scammer can do. And I mean, there's way more stuff that this is a whole topic, right?
yes.
Absolutely, and until we get that kind of more secure products, I mean, the only thing we can all do is educate, and you know, it's crazy. I mean, I even tell people like, hey, you might see us share link. Always, 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 you have to be a little skeptical before you click any link. It doesn't matter where it came from, because at the end of the day, like security is not guaranteed in this space, and that you're the only one. You're the only one that can truly have your own back at all times until we get products that actually work for the people. Like this Slope situation was the ultimate failure for everybody who put faith in them. Um, and that's the sad thing is, bugs happen, mistakes happen, and so there's never going to be a real fail-safe to, there's going to be a product that can truly be trusted in Web3 with somebody's funds. So people need to be more secure with their funds. And what you just explained, I can't do that myself now. Like I can't split up my funds. Like I'm not going through that amount of effort right now, which I should be doing more, putting more effort with making sure I don't have too much funds in each wallet and all that. But um, it's a scary thing. We need people to be talking about this in spaces. We need projects to be talking about this, and I think Solana, the community, needs to start demanding better from the builders. We have to, because if we don't do that, they might risk everything we have. If this keeps happening, if wallet projects keep doing this type of mistake on Solana, it doesn't matter what everybody else on Solana is doing. Those wallet projects could ruin a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. We're kind of touching on the hour here. This has been super, super interesting. I've learned a lot. Hopefully, you guys have learned a lot as well. I am right now replying to our tweet with the winner, and I see him in our spaces here by the name of Soulful. So, congrats on your new Polychain, the Exomon.
Congratulations. Just send us a DM and I'll get your info and we will send you the prize. Thank you for tuning in.
Awesome. We're also always, I know you, Unipack. You changed your name, right? It was another name before.
So I put my full name, Omid Sarafipour, in my bio, but I had my PFP also as our project, and I started joining spaces, and everybody assumes I'm just trying to shill Polychain Monsters. They're like, "Hey, I think you're here to shill, so I'm gonna skip you." I'm like, "No, I'm just a regular person. Like I enjoy talking about Solana stuff." So my personal account, like obviously I do promote a lot of Polychain Monster stuff on there. It's pretty much 90% of what I do, but I do like to comment on what's going on with Solana, and I do like to personally participate. So that's how I found you guys, was just kind of being a listener. And yeah, so glad you guys did this. Thanks for having us. And definitely, we would be happy to come back and have another conversation whenever you guys are ready for an update.
Yeah, for sure. I would love like once the game is more ready to once the testers have started testing it.
Absolutely.
Let's set it up. And of course, you on your personal account and anyone listening is welcome at any times. We've had some great conversations here. I can't imagine what will happen on an unrecorded space.
Those can get wild, but we appreciate that this one was recorded, so anybody who missed it today can listen. Thank you guys for hosting. Really great experience. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan, for coming on. And thank you, guys. I will close the space right here, and then I will open our after party very soon after, which will be unrecorded and free for anyone to talk about almost anything, but not really anything. So again, thank you, everyone. See you very, very soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.